I'm kicking in your front. Great peeping in your drapes. Rob making the plate in the back. Chief Hall Podcast. Chief Hall Podcast. Chief Hall Podcast.
Chief Hall Podcast right now.
You know where you're at, Chief Hall Podcast, and we are here in many ways because of our mentors and those men in our life, dads, uncles, people, associates of our parents, because I got so many aunties because my mom made sure that everybody was involved in our village. Part of our village and my village is our next guest. We are so glad to have him. We've been looking for him for a long time, and that is Mr. Frankie Neil, the former band director of Miami Carey City Senior High. Frankie Neil, how you doing, Mr. Neil? We've been looking for you, and we're so glad that we caught up with you. And nothing wrong with you. You're ready to go, and you're still kicking, as they say.
Now I'm kicking that golf ball.
Yeah. Nice. I've heard that's very addictive.
Yeah, it is.
Golf.
It is. It's good for you too, man. One of the doctors that I had said that during COVID, the best thing you could do is play golf because you're out there in the fresh air and you're getting exercise.
And you got that distance.
You got that distance.
That social distance that they were really pushing about, and that was important. Of course, we got Rob and Ray in the building, and this is important because we all, as we say, we band students, and we have bonded. You know, Ray is our freshman brother, but he's from another old high school, but we have bonded once we left and got on the highest of 7 hills, and he has an interesting perspective today because of his band director's connection with our band director, which we'll get to that. But let's start in Clearwater. I always wanted to know, how did you choose trumpet?
That's a very good question, and to this day I don't know, other than the fact that when I was a kid, maybe 3 or 4 years old, I don't know if you remember or not, but they used to make those plastic instruments like saxophone, clarinet, and trumpet. And for some reason or other, I hung up with the trumpet.
Right.
I stayed with that trumpet, blowing air and doing whatever I had to do to make sounds.
So you remember playing in, because we was talking about high school earlier, and I think Ray was going to allude to something about competitiveness, and how competitive was it when you was in middle school, high school? Was it kind of similar to how they had feeder programs and all of what you relied on as a band director?
Well, not really. Let me tell you a story. We only had high school, in other words, from 7th grade through 12th grade. That was it.
Okay.
I started playing, my band director used to come to my house and give me lessons when I was like in 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
You're a band director.
My band director did.
Wow.
Right. And I remember to this day, when I got to be in 6th grade, he brought me over to the high school. I was a little short guy, shorter than I am now, believe it or not, and put me on a chair. And I played a few notes, wasn't a solo, but a few notes. And I guess he was trying to say that this is what we're building with. And that was my beginning.
And that was 4th grade.
4th grade.
Well, we can see how the earlier you start with instruments like the trumpet, and trombone would be very hard at fourth grade. It's almost like you have to be a certain capabilities when you start playing with that trombone, which was my instrument. But so this Clearwater, this 4th grade, so the 100 was something to us that we saw when we was little. Was that the same for you?
Absolutely. Luckily, my parents used to take me to Tampa when the 100 performed there. And I remember one tune in particular that the 100 did called With the Scales of Justice. Theme from the Defenders.
Oh.
And I was sitting right in front of the trumpet section.
Oh, man.
And they blew my mind away. And from that, I must have been maybe 13 or 14 years old, but I knew then what I wanted to do.
At 13, I think we were. What Ray? You remember? You know, Ray. You told that story, Ray. When you was a little boy.
Yeah, I remember the parade. I just remember watching them in the parade. For some reason, they just looked like heroes to me.
Yeah.
They were like heroes, like the Avengers. I call them the Avengers. And when they came by,
Real life ones.
Yeah, real life Avengers, and just watching the sectional at the parade, and then watching them march down in the parade as a little kid. And I said, I want to do that. I told my uncle that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
So we were coming in contact with it in the 80s, and then we really, when the 100 came in 89, we went and saw them at the Orange Bowl, and that sealed the deal. All the bad grades and all that cutting up we was getting, said, hey man, for sure we going down. So we all locked in, and we decided as we were going. That was in high school.
But you say 89 because remember, 88, you knew people that were in the band that were freshmen now. From
at that point, because 88, all of them was gone. That was our freshman year, 88. But now you say, so you saw this at 13, and then that high school was, like you say, you was already in that school that was from young to all the way to your senior. So they had a band and everything at those schools.
Right, and something else that happened to me that really enhanced my musicianship. The Ford Foundation created a youth symphony in St. Petersburg. It was called the Pinellas County Youth Symphony. And I was able to get involved in that. And that really upped my musicianship. I would practice 3 hours a day after band practice. Now, I also, like I talked with you before, I played a little bit of baseball. So I play baseball, come home, eat, do my homework, and then practice for 3 hours by myself. When I say 3 hours, I would blow 45 minutes and rest 15. 45 minutes play, rest 15. And that was done for at least 3 or 4 years.
Did you want to play baseball, or band was like, nah, baseball is just fun?
Well, I was kind of hung up. I was going to stick with baseball, but some kind of way my back went out.
Okay.
And I had to leave that alone.
God said, I got another plan for you.
Yeah.
So kind of went freshman year at Florida A&M University, because you already knew you was going there. Right. Do you see, were you able to see, like that vision that Dr. Foster had? We couldn't see it until later on. I really see it now, what he was trying to do. Because you're talking about in the 60s. Civil rights movement came a little bit later, because you was talking about 68. What was the scene like in Tallahassee in 64?
Well, you sort of had to stay, I hate to say this, but in your place. You had to stay on campus. We went to Frenchtown to get those famous sausage sandwiches. Walked over there. We didn't ride. We had to walk.
You had to walk.
Yeah. But basically, you did what you had to do. You studied that instrument. Everybody basically did what they had to do with that instrument, because if you didn't, you would be shaken off the tree.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And you mentioned you had to stay in place, but because I would imagine how Tallahassee would have been in the 60s.
So what was your inspiration? Like, when we were coming there in 91, we knew what we saw and what we were ready to get into. You having all that extra on your plate at that time in 64, did you really see that as a kid, or you knew you had to adhere to like some of the rules of things, but you still were inspired to like push forward to be that great player?
Well, I didn't really see it or heard about it, but I spent all my time doing what I was supposed to do, so I didn't have any problems at all. Plus, I didn't mention this to you guys, Prof. Bowie, he was a prof then, but didn't have his doctorate degree, and Prof. Bing, Bruce Francis, the guy I talked to you about from Lake Wales. We formed a group that played like brass wind ensembles. And a lot of times, instead of taking the whole band out on recruitment trips, he would take that ensemble.
To recruit.
Right, to recruit, yeah.
How was your impression of Dr. Foster when you met him?
Mesmerized, man. He never raised his voice. He got everything done. He never raised his voice. You know, and he just talked to you like a gentleman. You know.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys that are graduated that are band directors now, that back then that I heard, they basically did what Dr. Wilson did and got a lot of good things from that. Instead of raising their voices or shouting or screaming. You know.
Yeah. How was the job scene in '69 for an African American music major?
Tragic.
Oh, man.
Tragic. In fact, I didn't tell you the whole story. I got a job at Nautilus Middle School or junior high school, but I was teaching strings. Violin, viola, viola, double vowel. You know. And I did that for maybe 2 or 3 years. And then the band director finally went away, and I got to teach strings and band.
When you got to carry CD, one thing about no strings.
Well, what happened was that Mr. White says, "Oh, you taught violin at those other schools. Why don't we try it here?" It didn't work, but we actually tried it.
Yeah.
And there's something very interesting about strings because when you're playing band instruments, a lot of those things that you're playing are transcriptions from orchestra.
From the orchestra?
Yeah. A lot of the things the clarinets are playing, especially, are played by the violin. So you get to really realize what the violin and the clarinet have in common and try to get those clarinets to sound as much as possible.
Oh, man, yeah.
Like the violin.
So, yeah, but my mom, I realized that before you guys, all the teaching jobs, my mom and them grew up there in Mariana,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they all migrated down here because that's what the teaching job was.
Right.
Now to hear you say that it was tragic.
Yeah, and then plus two, for some reason or other, when I came down, that's when integration started. Whole hand, you know, with everybody. In fact, I heard stories that if some of the black teachers didn't want to go to a predominantly white school, they might have been fired. You know, integration had to happen, and that's how he did it.
Yeah, and Mr. White, he's older than you?
We're the same age.
Okay, because my mom was, I think that was him telling us how they had to stick together.
Mm-hmm.
All those principals and all those, they stuck together to make sure they got those teaching jobs.
Right.
And they kept everybody in the loop about what was going on.
Yeah, you have to each
The
other
black
out.
teachers, yeah. I heard that story. That it was they had to really look out for each other. Black folks really stuck together in them times.
So was there a time when you all got together, like outside of school, and just catch up and have a beer, or just hang out or something?
Always.
Oh,
Always. We would always have some kind of a rehearsal, like all band directors, whether concert band, a jazz band, or whatever.
Yeah.
But we would always try to find some kind of band room to get to, and that's how we really kept what was going on. You know, get the news, what's going on over there, and what to do and what not to do.
Okay, nice.
what not to do? So you left. You had your time in middle school, and then now you get the call to come, the opportunity to go to a high school.
Yes.
Was high school something you was always looking for?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
it was just about waiting the time. It was time.
That's right, and this is no better place in Miami to do it because this is where all the boys came
Yeah,
Right.
from A&M. You know.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Everybody was coming this way.
That's right. The Talbots, the Rhodes, you know, everybody was here.
Mr. Pascal, that was at Edison when we was there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know him?
Elvis Pascal, yes.
Elvis Pascal.
One of my best friends.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Over there at Edison.
That's right.
Now, he wasn't from A&M, was he?
No, he was from Bethune-Cookman.
Okay, but it was either of those two schools.
You know what? He was from University of Miami, not Bethune-Cookman. University of Miami, yes.
Elvis Pascal.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, you know, I didn't know. I didn't know that y'all was good friends, but
Yeah.
I know that we had a good familiarity with all the different band directors because, you know, when we was in school, the drum majors are all, at a certain time, all the drum majors get together and go and conduct the song on the other side. Were they doing that a long time? When you got there, that's something was started later on.
It must have started later on.
Yeah, okay. And it kind of got everybody familiar with each other and the different bands. You know, each conduct school.
Yeah. So when did the All-Star Marching Band? When did that kick off? That was later on. That's later, right?
Yeah.
That was like late '80s or early '90s. They had the All-Star Marching Band. all the band members.
All the members in the city of Miami.
I think that's they were doing it like that.
Oh,
it might be some more from other places too.
Yeah, that must have been around the Orange Bowl, wasn't it?
Could have been.
It could have been during that time.
I can't remember. Yeah, I remember.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah. So now we at Carol City, and now in your mind was your goal to replicate the 100? Is that what you was thinking as a band director?
Not from the onset. My goal was to try to get the kids to really enjoy what they were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and to really introduce them to other types of music, not just the marching band idioms, but also the concert band, the jazz band, all those idioms,
Yeah.
And it was kind of rough, but I think we made a pretty good show at it.
Now, when you say rough, in '81, were there a lot of kids that like, man, I'm not playing that instrument, or was it?
Well, not necessarily not playing that instrument, but I don't want to play what we're playing. I don't want to play that, what do they call it, circus music.
Okay.
Those are the marches.
The marches,
Yeah.
I remember seeing you was the band director, and I saw Carol City when I was at Carol City Middle. I saw them at the Orange Bowl, and they was jam men,
Okay.
and that made me say I wanted to go to Carol City,
Right.
even though I was at Carol City hanging out with thugs and all that, acting up, and I wasn't in Carol City's band, but I saw them perform at the Orange Bowl. Y'all was doing Pee Wee Herman, and that had to be in '87.
Okay.
Some type of battle of band was at the Orange Bowl. I might be a little bit off, but I was in middle school. But I knew I said, man, I didn't know. Jarvis and me went to the same church,
Okay.
and I'm getting to why you were so important to me, and then I told Mr. Beckford how he was important in the same kind of way. But Jarvis was at the church with me. They from Parkway. All them boys over there at Parkway. Them Parkway boys. They made sure all them boys, sight reading, they used to walk around with their medals. I want to slap them medals off of them boys. They used to walk all around with them.
I ain't like that either.
We had a lot of people from Parkway come over there to
Yeah.
Did you ever recruit and go over there and talk to Mr. Hoffman?
Not this.
Or they just knew that like they were going over?
What I did, I forgot to mention to another very important person in my life, and that was Mr. Mustafa, the trumpet player, and unfortunately passed away.
Oh, Dad. Yeah, Mustafa's
Yeah,
dad. Yeah.
I would some kind of way talk to parents, or either the parents would talk to me. He knew me very well because we were in the same section at A&M.
But he's before you, or you?
No, we were together.
Same time. Oh,
Are
yeah.
y'all were freshman brother?
No, he
just same year.
started. He went to junior college in Miami first,
Okay.
and then came up, I guess, his third year.
Oh,
But
okay.
we were in the same section.
Wow, that's a nice story.
Right, and I was so glad I knew that guy because he has a talented family.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Mustafa, Melton Mustafa was around our time, and then Yaman was up on.
Yeah,
Yaman is right up under us.
right. Then his other younger brother.
Yep. What's his name? I forget that young brother, but he played trumpet too.
Trumpet also.
Yeah, he was trumpet.
Mustafa has the key to the city.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami Gardens.
Melton Mustafa.
Melton Mustafa.
Junior.
Miami Gardens gave him the key to the city. Junior.
He's junior, yeah.
Junior.
Yeah.
I
I followed him on YouTube. Man, that guy can play.
the son.
Yeah, the son.
Yeah, he just had a concert that right the night of the playoffs, the playoffs, and we I missed
We
it,
missed it. Yeah.
but I saw it. I posted it saying that he was doing it. But going back to that story I was telling, Jarvis taught me the trombone, and from just ear by ear, and because you was giving me the business, and I needed it because that helped me understand how where I needed to be, because it was very competitive. It was very competitive, and I almost was saying, man, no, this ain't for me. Jarvis kept on telling me. He kept on saying, man, come on, I'm gonna show you everything. So I always learned the whole show when he started teaching me by ear. But before that, you'll say, all right, Wesley, stand up, no, Star Spangled Banner. All the whole band sitting down. You remember that? Yeah. But that's making sure we had our, and before I left, because of job, because you making sure that nobody, every man has to stand on his own.
No shame.
Every man got to stand on his own. You got to play your own part. That's what helped me when I got to FAMU. I was the section leader over the second trombone from all my freshmen brothers, because they split us up because we were bigger than them. So when we were freshmen, it was 19 of us, and there was only 6 upperclassmen.
Right.
So they broke us up, and they put me over the second trombone, John was over the third trombone, and then they put Nate from Central over the first trombone. They split us all up in 91 because of that. But it all started when you really was making sure that we played our part. And when I march, no, go sit because I ain't march. My freshman year, I wasn't marching all them games. Mr. Neil said, "Hey, nah, man, hey, go sit down. You ain't ready."
You holding the ladder? You holding the ladder?
No, I'm just sitting. But I had to understand the process, because I never knew how to sight read. I walked in there and just started learning. But before I left, I blew the pedal. You couldn't stand in front of my home before I left.
There you go.
Before I left.
Was that something normal, like all the band directors had? Because I went to New Orleans, so. But like I said, we have a direct connection with each other, and I've met you plenty of times. Right. But the thing is, going down the line, because that can be a very scary moment for a band member, especially when you know you're not on top of your game.
Right. You know what I started doing?
He did that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I started doing it a little differently, because I realized that a lot of people couldn't handle it that way.
Yeah.
So I started letting 2 people are challenging each other.
Okay.
Go into the equipment room. You're number 1. You're number 2. I don't want to see who's playing.
Okay.
And then number 1 play. And then I agreed to that. And number 2 play. I agreed to that.
Okay.
And I think that worked out a lot better.
Yeah.
Than the way I was doing it.
And then you had started doing too. Whoever played those parts the best, we could always challenge for chairs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that 7th period, because I was the only trombone in your 4th period with the woodwinds. That's how I got better too. That's how I learned how to listen and play, because I was the only trombone in 4th period. My senior year, we had that woodwinds class, and I was the only trombone in there. So I had to learn how to play under them, play with them, open up when it was a trombone part. So I learned all that being in that class. But I got cleaner. It helped me get cleaner. Yeah. Still couldn't sight read real good. But that's just, because it's hard to learn if you learn by ear. Then you got to keep going backwards. Yeah, you ain't never had that problem. I'm gonna do this little segment here that we talk about, and you said a couple of names. I'm gonna name some people, and then you just tell me what comes to mind. It don't have to be the first thing, but what comes to mind. And I didn't know that Mr. Mustafa was that pivotal. You want to talk a little bit more about Mel Mustafa, Senior?
What else can I say other than a phenomenal trumpet player, phenomenal person, another person that I've never really seen lose his cool. Never. He gave me a lot of things to think about when I played trumpet. I really was trying to follow him. He said he was trying to follow me, but I was the one who was trying to follow him. I never knew anything about jazz. Wasn't that much interested in jazz, but I always enjoyed what he was doing.
Because that's another thing I never really heard you do jazz.
No.
But I always heard you with those long tones and that tone, that unbelievable tone. Okay, Julian White, Dr. Julian E. White.
Doc, phenomenal. In fact, I want to ask you guys something before we get into it with me. When Dr. White and Prop Band would come down and help us with the concert band, remember that?
Yeah.
What did they tell you guys? Because when we came out of that room, man, you guys were smoking.
You know how Dr. Foster they learned so much from him, and they was almost they was like mirrors of Dr. Foster in a sense, because they would break down measures, clarifying those measures and that phrasing and that breathing with that phrasing. That's all Dr. Foster used to talk about. He'll take stuff that we've been playing. Here coming up, I'm sure you're familiar with that. Here coming up, he will change where we was breathing at, and it'll change the whole way we play. So they were detailed. You know how it is when your kids always hear you talking. We always heard you, and we take it for granted. But y'all was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You're saying the same thing.
Yeah, Dr. White, I felt, I'm percussion, so, it was different. Rob and I are percussion.
Y'all play the drum.
Yeah, percussion.
Get it right.
Percussion.
Glad I ain't gonna do it all.
But right? But the thing is, it's like, I just remember that the feeling that I always get, Foster was different, but then it felt like Dr. White was just warming us up so that Dr. Foster can drive his car out to the patch right there, and then he'll just see, okay, let's see what you got now. So it felt like Dr. White was like, you gotta march. He was always like building endurance. We were out there just building the endurance to be able to march, and I like that, because later on, once we got on the field, like right now, if I put on a uniform right now and try to march out in a hot 90-degree sun, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
I think Dr. White, and I believe a lot of us, they never lost felt like that responsibility to not let Dr. Foster down.
Yeah.
It just felt like every time Dr. White wanted to make sure Dr. Foster didn't have to worry about nothing,
The tools were embedded.
And it was almost
they were
like,
embedded. You're already like there,
Yeah. Did Dr. Foster say, like, y'all did those run-throughs right before we did the snake over to the stadium, over the Prairie? Y'all did that run through the whole show right there in the band.
We did everything in the band.
Yeah. And then Dr. Foster say, I believe 100 is ready.
Right.
He did that, said that. Yeah. I think that's what
tradition.
we live for. And
He did that for you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He said, I believe that the 100 is ready. And boy, we almost told him damn chairs up. That's all we wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
His stamp.
Yeah.
His stamp. Of course, now, before I get to Dr. Foster, Shayla James, which is the longest tenured employee at the university.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier, Sheila James interned at my high school, and so I've known him for a long time. And everybody that I can think of that I talked to about Dr. James,
Dr. James
says that he's just an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
Amazing. He does another guy that doesn't lose his cool. I mean, like you said, unless you did something real seriously wrong, But a heck of a musician.
I would imagine.
Yeah. A lot of respect.
Yeah.
That 60th year celebration was, you had people coming down, man. That it was the director of the percussion at Bethune-Cookman, and it was another guy. He said that he always called Dr. James. It was a lot of people coming saying that they wouldn't have, if they ran into anything, they would call Dr. James, and he would help them with anything about their stuff. He had a lot of respect in the whole music community as one of those, they call him Foster Five. I mean, he made me really say that, boy, Dr. Foster had a vision. To pick him and for him to stay for 60 years. He ain't make no wrong. And he's still there.
It's not broke, it wasn't broke. And like you said, Mr. Neil, it's just, he just had something at that time. He knew how to talk to you and get what he needed out of you. And when he goes, son,
those pictures.
He knew how to get it out of you. And you wanted to do well.
Yeah.
Like we wanted to do well for all of you guys.
And like I told Coach Frazier, I said, Mr. Neil was he drove us like how he drove them. in his own way. You know, my senior year, no, it was after my senior year, I had left. And we was coming back to play Southern in 1991 and Joe Robbie at that time. And that's when I got in that fight. Because I was passing by your office and that bully guy.
You remember that? You know what? I started to do my teacher thing and say, no, I think I see what's going on. I left it alone.
Yeah.
You notice that?
Yeah. I mean,
that's the first time I've ever done that.
That dude was in the office playing with a girl. Mm-hmm. And we would go, you know, I had already graduated. Brian and them were seniors, McCoy and all those. I had already graduated. But anyway,
that's when you broke your hand.
Yeah, broke my knuckle.
Yeah.
That guy was in there playing, and I just walked by the office. I said, hey, Mr. Neil and them would like that playing around in there. Mr. Neil don't have that. And he looked, and ain't say nothing. Boy, we was having a meeting. You remember the Bud Boys? I got something special for you too. But we started the Bud Boys when we were in school. The Bud Boys. We still operate now, but as a 501c3.
Okay.
The Bud Boys. If you would for me, grab that box. This would be a perfect time to dedicate something to you that I wanted to make sure you got. But as he brings that over, let me just go and just hear what you got to say about Dr. Foster, because we could talk all day about Dr. Foster.
I've never met anyone like Dr. Foster. Always a gentleman, first of all. Always. I've heard the story that his band director, once he left college, told him that he would never get a band. He would never have a band. And he says, not only am I going to have a band, I'm going to have one of the better bands in this country.
And boy, that's probably what drove that.
That's right. That's right. That's why he's called the Law. You know.
The Law.
And like you said before, I've seen him where guys or ladies couldn't play a certain passage, and once he just talked to you, don't play anything, just listen to what he said.
Yeah.
And let's try it again. And it's right on key.
Right on key.
Amazing person.
Yeah.
You know, when I left to go do some of the things I did in life after high school, and I was in certain circles. I spoke to Quincy Jones a long time ago, and I talked to him, and I told him I was under Dr. Foster, one of my teachers, and he said, "Wow, Dr. Foster," and he was like amazed. And I'm talking to Quincy Jones, and he was like amazed, like, yeah, that man, a bad man, he was really giving him his credit and flowers right there at that moment.
And when I hear Dr. Foster talk, and I understand the times, the 60s, the 50s, it was rough-eyed people. And for him to be a bright-skinned black man and knowing he wanted to have something that you had to acknowledge one way or another. Because till this day, the Marching 100 and Florida University are known for excellence in musicianship, with now just recently winning the Band of the Year for that distinct technique and that distinct quality about music. Music, one thing I learned and what I grabbed from Dr. Foster, that music was an important vehicle for our people. Yeah. Everything come, all that music come from Africa anyway, and he really felt that this was going to be a very important vehicle for our people for you to really say, well, we couldn't take that. Now, even every band that performs, you could attribute some of that what Dr. Foster had.
You know what? Don't quote me 100%, but there was a documentary that came out about Miami down here, and a lot of the guys, the Motown sound was actually developed down here in Miami. The true Motown sound, the band and that music sound. And a lot of those guys that were talking on camera about it said that they marched in 100. There were a lot of band members from under Dr. Foster. And if I could find that, I'll recommend it later if you haven't seen it. But they did. They were talking about that. And then obviously Barry Gordy took the module and did something with it later in Detroit, and not taking credit away from them. But Right? He just took that whole model.
Right? Don't forget the Adderley brothers. They're about all that.
Yeah.
In the 50s.
Adderley brothers. I met her. They were musicians.
Yeah, Cannonball.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They were band members with
With
Mr. Hill. But Brett's dad played with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Brett's dad was with Cannonball Adderley
Okay.
in the band. Yeah, so they were on something. They was something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
That mentality, they were all phenomenal.
Right.
What they was saying. But Wynton Marsalis. What do you think about Wynton Marsalis?
Now, when I say this stupid, I don't mean that he's stupid. I mean he's stupid, man. I mean, as a classical trumpet player, his name is Maurice Andre.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly he was one of the better trumpet players alive back in the day. Now, here comes a guy, he's almost like that football player from Colorado that plays defense and offense.
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunt. This guy is one of the best jazz players in the world. And then you hear him play classical stuff. All the trumpet solos, sit in with some of the better orchestras,
Yeah.
Brandenburg concertos for trumpet. Those things are difficult.
I heard him play that very, very difficult piece, and I forget the name of it. It's gonna come back to me.
Okay.
But it's a concert. So it's in that same category.
Napoli, the solo Napoli.
He played that too,
Okay.
but it's the other one. It's the other one. Very difficult. I forget the name.
Oh, Haydn concerto.
No, he probably played that, but I'm gonna find it when we come out of it.
Yeah.
And it's a page on Instagram that I want you to see.
Okay.
It's some notes that I heard some trumpet players play. I don't know, but I know you'll know.
They're up there.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was with Sandoval.
Sandoval, I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. Them guys, yeah.
It's hard before he starts that. It's hard to sometimes we can spend all day asking you questions because we want to know. As adults sitting here with you, not like kids.
I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, and it's just before. I know he had a couple of names. Dr. Falls was kind of close to the last one, but the thing is, obviously, like I told you, we all have a connection many years. But I do want to ask you from a rival band standpoint, because I'm a New Orleans Viking, okay, and I always have much respect for you and all the stuff that every band director was doing in the city of Miami. When you just look back and you see the love. But just tell me what you think about Mr. Talbot.
An amazing man. Again, you got a guy playing flute as well as tuba. And I don't mean just playing, I mean being the best of the best. The best of the best. And then he becomes band director. He knows the woodwinds, he knows the brasses. He's a legend. He was a legend in his own time. Not only with people that look like you and I, but also anybody, and everybody will tell you that. Kenneth Talbot was one of the best.
And you said what high school did he go to? He went to the same high school in
New
Jacksonville.
Stanton Senior High School in Jacksonville.
New Stanton. Now this school still school
Yeah.
still putting them out.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard nobody. The Reebok is kind of now doing a lot, but I haven't. Our first brother, we got first brother from Reebok and some of the other schools in Jacksonville, Duval County.
Okay.
But I never heard anybody other than that era coming from New Stanton like that.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard anybody come from there also. But during that time with Talbot and the Sergeants, Lindsay and his brother, brother played clarinet. Was band director at South Carolina State.
Oh, okay, yeah, his brother. Did you see? They always say you never really see how far your influence goes until now you see here we are, your former students, and we telling you how your influence has helped us be better people, better musicians. Challenged me to stop being lazy, be better. If you want to perform and get on that field and set goals And now here we are grown men I've been living longer than
Here we
they weren't
go.
born.
Don't listen to this.
But
Don't
I've been
listen.
living 2 years longer than them, so
Don't listen.
I'm about to be 53. But I could attribute being raised by a single mother as you being a very pivotal part in my life on because men need other men to tell them you can't do this. No, I need you to do that again. I'll get better. Men have to help with raising men, and I thank God that my mom, she knew that because she used to take me out there with Coach Coffee because they went to Cookman together. And she used to drop me off out there and have me around men. Once up, my dad and they divorced when I was 5, but she knew, and that's why she took so much to you as well as a band director and became a band parent because she wanted to be around and Howard's mom, Miss Rogers, and all the moms, Miss McCoy, all them. They knew that it was very important for us to have a man in our life to tell us to sit your behind down.
I see where you're going. Let's go to this one before
Go ahead.
right there. I asked you kind of earlier. I wanted to get deeper with it. Just, I understand you were the band director at Miami Carol City, but not just the band director at Miami Carol City. You were a leader, educator, a teacher for the community. Even kids that weren't in band, you were still there for them. And when you look back, I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but when you look back and you see that all the successful students that you do have and people who have families and are living right because of your tutelage, do you sit back and just go, thank you, God? Or,
I do.
Okay.
I do. And to me, it means more than money.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you understand what I'm saying. Because guys like you and Frank and Robert, you're the roots.
Yes, sir.
A lot of us thought that, when I say us, people my age thought that once we grew up, the kids were going to not care about, what's going on. But you guys have proven us wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, you're doing way more than we thought you were going to do.
And you just never know. Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Thank you.
I keep saying I play golf with a lot of guys, and we talk about this a lot. That we're very proud of the young kids, especially the young black men, because back in the day, the black men had a little bit of a problem doing what they should have been doing. But now things are turning around. The young ladies, I thank God for them.
Yeah.
But things are turning around, I think, for us as a people.
Yes, sir.
In a lot of ways, I just wish, I believe in a lot of ways the generations have gotten weaker because you guys came from so much that we never saw. You guys were stronger, and one guy was asking young women of today, he was asking them, do you think you are as strong as your grandmother? And there's not one woman today that would say that they would compare to their grandmother. And my granddaddy, the kind of man he was, to be having to go to the back door and being called boy at 80 years old and going back to get his studying all them books and taking all them books out of the garbage can. My granddaddy would take all the law books from the federal buildings that he cleaned that night, and he would study all the law books because every few years they got new ones. He made a library, and my young lawyers, white lawyers, would come to my granddaddy and ask questions about it. So before he died at 70-something years old, he was preparing to take the bar exam. So to see how strong and mentally strong it was, I challenged myself a lot, knowing how you guys was and what y'all went through. Because Ray couldn't have made the band when he was in the band.
Yeah, he joke. But before he pulls that out, I want to say something about his mama, because you knew his mom.
Yes.
And I'm going to say something from my point of view of his mom. The reason why this award has her name on it is because this woman, ever since, like, all the years that I've ever known her, she would do anything for you. It doesn't matter. If she knew you didn't have a couple dollars in your pocket, she'll give it to you. It didn't matter. Even with my kids at times, she would say, I would say, no, Mom, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. She said, shut up. She said, this day blessing, so she will always look out for people, So she'll talk to you. She'll look out for you. She'll talk you, but she's going to look out for you. And I think this is more befitting of her name being on this award, being one of the first to come out of it.
For she used to always say, and I get that from her. Anytime young folks came around, because my mom always kept cash. She'd always put them to the side and put something in their pocket, say, "This to keep the hanks off." She used to always say, "This to keep the hanks off."
Mm-hmm.
But I was inspired to come up with this award because of Mama, because she worked 36 years in the school system of Dade County. And so many, I never knew how far-reaching her influence was until I was on 15th Avenue. As a young boy coming out of a store buying gum and candy, and the guys that ran 15th Avenue would know me from my mom. My mama taught the Ford brothers and all those families that was controlling 15th Avenue, and they knew my mama Mark. I'll tell you that story later. But this is a award that I wanted to give you because this is you were the first person that I thought that we wanted to give it. Michael Dixon and myself, we were thinking of a way that we can make sure that our parents or my mom could be remembered, especially by the people that knew her. And all she knew was service. So we came up with this award, and we call it the Moretta Wesley Service Award. And we're going to present this to you from the Bug Boys Inc. And it says, for your tireless years of dedication and commitment to building young men to lead our community. This is the Moretta Wesley Service Award.
What can I say?
And we want to present that to you.
Thank you so much.
Man.
I'm so sorry she's not here.
Yeah, but she made sure that I was ready for when she wasn't. And that's all her role was, to prepare me for when she gone. But that's what I wanted to present you with, that, to put on your mantle and to show your wife while you've been out all this time, so she would know that you was coming to get the service award.
Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
This Chief Hall podcast, and we spending time with our mentor, our uncle, our dad, because many of us didn't have someone we could lean on and to tell us no other than Mama. And this man is small in stature, but he had a big old strong voice, and we respected and understood that he was running the show, and he kept us in line. And I could only God knows how far-reaching his influence has been. Right now, you can see it as we have sought him out to make sure we was bringing him on to present him with this. And Mr. Frankie Neil, it was an honor to have you on there, because you made me stand in my own tool spot and carry my own weight. And I push that to every man in this that comes in contact with me. As African American men in this country, we must carry our own so that we all together may be strong. This Chief Hall podcast, we out.